is Ruel's Running Podcast, a podcast about running, health, family, play, and an NSNG lifestyle. And now, here's your host, Ruel.
Excuse me as I rock on. That's Went Away by Dorothy Lane. Dorothy Lane out of Martinez, California. That's out of the Cut and Dry album. Check them out at dorothylanemusic.com. Yeah. Hey everybody, this is Ruel's Running Podcast. I'm your host, Ruel Abadam, and if you are a return listener of the show, you will find that my voice sounds a bit different. It's a bit more sexy, and you can't help yourself but to cradle your earbuds and your speaker and get all excited. But I want to tell you that you don't have to do that, because you can always replay, when you're all alone, doing your own business, like taking a dump, and ensure yourself a pleasurable experience participating in the Poop 30 challenge. Yes, if you are a new listener, you're thinking, I've never heard his voice before, he sounds awful, what the hell is he talking about? And I just want to say to you, the new listener, welcome. Hey guys, welcome to the show. This is maybe episode 3 for the year 2019. And if you heard the previous episode, that actually, I've had that in the can for quite a while, and I didn't get it released. A lot of stuff has been going on, and one of which is being sick, which is why my voice feels like it sounds awesome. And so just to give you a rundown, what I've gone through, and bits and pieces of it you've already heard in previous episodes. At the tail end of last year, the family took a short Anaheim trip to Disneyland, and then a trip to Long Beach to hop on a cruise ship to Ensenada, Mexico, for a few days. And upon return, had a few days of the work week, only to hop onto a multi-day outdoor school trip for my kids' fourth grade class. It was a blast. It was raining, and in the beginning there was no power. So I wrapped up 4 days chaperoning 12 kids in a bunkhouse, and chaperoning on outings, smaller set of kids, but altogether just being a part of the parent chaperones to just watch all the kids when there's a big assembly. Again, it was all outdoors, so it was raining, it was wet, it was windy, it was cold, and nothing that we had on was dry, at least for me. Even some of my woolen vests and stuff still had a level of moisture on it, and there wasn't enough time to let it air dry for other activities, because basically all the kids were doing stuff all day long. Then when the trip was over, I got home to my daughter, who had just been recovering from some sort of virus, and she had ran a temperature while I was away. And after the first night home, when I woke up, I felt I had a little bit of a sore throat, so I knew that I was picking up what she had, and just sort of brushed it off. If I drink a warm beverage like I do, my coffee with heavy whipping cream, that tends to soothe my throat through the day, so I never felt I had a throat problem. Only upon waking in the morning would I be reminded that I had it. And then the 3-day weekend rolled around for Martin Luther King, and we did another trip to Anaheim, and spent a quick day, went to Disneyland, and then we spent time with my cousins and all the kids, my kids' cousins, and made our way back home. And the first night back from having done all of this, I got to bed, and I started to feel worse, beyond the morning sore throat. My my skin under my chest and my back had this tingly feeling, kind of achy, kind of chill, kind of like the chills. The cold air would make me feel uncomfortable, and the heat of the covers would make me feel extra hot. So there was no real feeling comfortable. So I went to bed and woke up in the middle of the night with severe chest tightness, dead center, and no, I didn't think that it was a heart attack or anything. I did feel that it might have been some buildup, some congestion, some inflammation, sort of like bronchitis that had happened. I was laying flat on my back, probably with my mouth wide open, and I had developed some congestion as a result of the virus that, it pretty much knocked me out. It took me out. Just feeling that was exhausting, and knowing, at that moment I knew that if this is how I'm going to feel when I wake up to start the day, there's no way I'll be able to participate in the morning routines, getting the kids lunches and breakfast and getting them ready and taking them to school. There's no way. And there was no way that I was going to be able to go to work. And fortunately, the chest tightness subsided. But, as soon as everybody was in school and my wife was at work, I made an appointment to the doctor's office and got myself checked out. I walked away with a new inhaler with instructions on next time I feel chest tightness, go ahead and give myself a couple of pumps of that. And as far as the pain that I'm feeling now all over my skin and the chills, I take sort of like an acetaminophen or ibuprofen. One product that the doctor recommended was maybe a NyQuil. She also offered a prescription for codeine, and I'm like, no, I'm not interested in codeine. I'll just opt for the NyQuil or the Dayquil just to help me through. And that's that. So I'm on day 2 out of the office, and I can't stand it. I'm sick and tired of how I'm feeling, and I picked up a bottle of Dayquil Severe, and I just popped a shot, and hopefully that helps me through the day so that I'm at a point where I just want to sit and do nothing, just kind of stare out into nothing. It's that horrible. Like, to do nothing helps me not feel any of the discomfort. To move around, to do stuff, I'm constantly reminded, of the discomfort and the pain and all of that. But as much as I want to just rest as completely as possible, there are still some things that I can stand to do just to keep the family going, and I need to do. So yeah. So that's that. That's the gist of what's going on in this episode. And it's funny because getting sick happens so fast, right? It was, it seemed like I was all well and good at that last Anaheim trip over the MLK weekend, only for me to be just completely trashed, come Tuesday morning. And I'm still trashed. Body aches. I'm burying myself with blankets and comforters and fleece blankets just to not feel the shakes. And, then through the night, I kind of get a level of moisture, sweat going on. And, if I need to get up and pee, it's just so cold that, I'm freezing and I'm uncomfortable. What was I trying to get at? Lost my train of thought, which is, so I got sick so fast, and shortly before that even happened, I think it was like Monday where I signed up for the Fremont 50K Fat Ass, right? I'm like, cool, that's just a week away. Yeah, that was Sunday when I signed up on Ultra Sign Up. I'm like, cool, I'll just hop on that. I was feeling good. I'm like, I need some sort of trail work. I need to get back in the swing of things, and that'll be perfect. It's a fat-ass format. You don't have to pay for anything, and you can hop off. You can accomplish whatever distance you want within the 50K course, and then you can hop off if you whenever you want. And that's great. And here I am, sick as crap, and between now and Sunday, I don't know what's up. It is what are we? What day is it, guys? It's Wednesday, I believe. So, it's Wednesday. So I get to there's a podcast, Vinny's podcast, probably released a new episode today, the Wednesday show with Andy Schreiber or whoever else fills in. So I gotta listen to that. Yeah, but it was excited. Like I could start, participating, being part of the community again. I can go out to Fremont. I could run, the course and say hi to folks that I've met before. And then right now it's up in the air. It's questionable. So I don't know. And then, that was all leading up to me wanting to register for the Lake Chabot in February, which I haven't done yet. I need to do that. In the past couple of years, it's been the 50K, but I've opened up the possibility of not doing the 50K and doing the 30K. And part of that, my thoughts there is like, I feel like if I did the 30K, and I could do the 30K, but I feel like I might end up like missing something, the FOMO of the 50K by doing the 30K. I don't know. It's kind of silly. Yeah. Anyways, so that's where I'm at, and that's as far as health, as far as my thoughts on running. It's pretty bad right now, but there's worse things out there in life, so just try my best. Yeah, I think I know there's a ton of stuff that I want to talk about. There's, between the 2 trips to Disneyland, the cruise, the camping trip, it's just, there's a lot of stuff that are worth talking about, but they all happen so fast and, one after the other that there's no time to sort of soak it in. Oh, now I can remember. So a lot of time on the road, right, as a result of doing all of those trips. And I was able to catch up on some of my Audible book listening. I finally got around to completing the audiobook Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain. So if you haven't heard that, I think it's worth a listen. It's as you know, he's no longer alive, but you listening to his book, you can't tell that he's gone. I mean, he reads his own audiobook, so he's alive and well in his audiobook and all of his TV programs, And speaking of Anthony Bourdain and one of his TV programs, I watched an episode, one of his many episodes, but this particular episode, he traveled to Manila, or the Philippines, kind of covered the culture, the work life, the family life, and the food, obviously. And he ate what's called pork sisig. And a traditional way of it being prepared is you basically get the roasted pig, the roasted face of a pig, and you cut it up, you chop it up, the skin, the meat, whatever's there, the fat, and you season it with peppers and onions, and you put it on a hot platter, and you drop an egg right smack dab in the middle. And so over this last trip to Southern Cal, our family stopped off at a Filipino restaurant in Cerritos in LA, and I had the sisig. I don't know that they make it using the pig face, and definitely there was no drop of an egg on a hot platter, but it was fantastic. It was delicious, I only fantasize that it was truly from a roasted pig's face because it sounds super interesting and it can gross a whole lot of people out. Otherwise, it's just, a good cut of roasted pork, cut up, chopped up, and seasoned in similar fashion, and you'll get the same sort of flavors and enjoyment out of however it's prepared. If you like pork, if you like roasted pork, if you like, seasonings and stuff, it's a good way to go. Yeah. I don't know what else to talk about. I figured I could just literally just sit and stare into nothing and do nothing, that I'd flip the recorder and kind of talk through some stuff. Had a conversation with Lonnie Beecham the other day, literally yesterday, not to record a podcast, but just to chat. His family's going through a lot, and it's mentioned on the Service Guys podcast after I corrected the episode. It's funny, the Service Guys podcast, the last episode that was released, somehow I saved the audio file with just the main content, the conversation with a excuse me, with a Gary Hand, but the intro and the outro was gone, and then the sort of the outside of the interview conversation, the pre-conversation, which I typically tack on the end, that was gone. So once I finally got back from all of the trips and stuff, I fixed that. So, in the updated version of the episode, Lonnie talks about how his mom is dealing with cancer and how it's a challenge all the way around. If you have loved ones who were impacted by directly, dealing with cancer, and you may know what it's like to struggle your way through what the impact of not being able to no longer function or work, and how that impacts the household and finances, all that stuff, and and wondering how one can get a level of care taken care of, paid for, So we had a conversation, just talking, because I told him the one thing that I've observed is, sometimes when people have deal with cancer, suddenly they may feel alone. People don't reach out the way they used to. The conversations are less, and that could be because people feel like, oh, so-and-so is dealing with cancer. They're going through a lot. I don't want to bother them. But in reality, it's when you can find, when you put it out there that, hey, when you have a chance, we can just talk. We can just talk because, it's important, right? You feel alone when you're part of a family who's going through a really rough time, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of, as to quote Lonnie, it's stress the fuck out, right? So, and I understand in my own way what that's all about, because my mother-in-law had suffered from 2 types of cancers, and she lived with us and got treatments while she stayed with us because we wanted to have her in an area where there was a level of health care that could address what she was going through as far as her cancers. And, I became one of her kids to watch over her, and as a child watching a mother figure, or as a young adult watching your mother figure go through stuff, and you're trying to do everything you can, you a lot of things go through your head, you get busy, and there's a level of busyness that you kind of appreciate because it saves you, right? And sometimes, at when you step back, at the bottom line is, cancer is no joke, and it's synonymous with, an early death. And there are people with certain types of cancers that could be in remission and live a long life. But then when there's a level of diagnosis where the cancer is aggressive, that it's uncertain, how long your loved one has left. But you run around busy, just trying to make the best of and keep your loved one comfortable, and just go on day by day and appreciate every moment you have. And I remember thinking like, me and my wife and her siblings, everyone ran around crazy shuttling for appointments and trips and research and looking for additional support and care and financing and blah, 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 and because it's worth fighting for, Yes, at the end, my wife's mother eventually passed, but you never want to be like, well, she's going to die eventually, so why don't we just not run around and do stuff? Let's just kind of let things coast. That's never the case. I mean, that shouldn't be the case. It's kind of like just life in general. Well, we're all going to die someday. Does that mean we just kind of like sit on our hands and do nothing? No, we try to live as rich of a life as possible with what we have, And, through my personal experiences with my mother-in-law, there was a level of closeness that I experienced that happened as a result of, her condition. And it enriched my life having as much closeness as I can. And it's a part of me, and there's a level of appreciation with that. I'm going to turn on the vehicles. I'm starting to get really hot in here. So what I'm trying to say is, the level of closeness that one gets from family, and then I'm able to take that, carry that with me as I, sort of like there's a legacy somewhere in all of it, and I'm able to take that, carry that in my life as I raise my own kids. There's a level of knowing my late mother-in-law, her ways and her mannerisms that I'll see in my kids, and it makes me feel good because it makes sense, because we're all part of the same family, and we don't know, there may be a level of closeness that we're not able to experience with loved ones because everyone is, I guess, relatively healthy and just doing their own thing. When something pretty hard like cancer happens, strangely it opens up those opportunities for closeness if one chooses to participate. I understand sometimes it's hard for others in the family who they don't know what to deal with, that, how to process the fact that their mom is going through cancer. But I think, to step forward and participate, be there one way or another, even if it's a phone call, even if it's a daily conversation, even if it's the smallest little bit of saying hi, and I love you, right? That little bit of affection, who you may never know, may just alleviate, the discomfort that may be as a result of, say, chemotherapy, right? So, and you can enrich your life because you've made that step to say hi and I love you and I miss you and I wish I was there. Anyways, I don't know where that came from, but anyways, my conversation with Lonnie was okay, right? He's going through a lot, and he could use as much friendship and relationship and that as possible to help him through the tough time, because he's got it tough, running a business, taking care of his mom, making sacrifices with his business, making sacrifices with his family just so that he can take care of this, because this is priority. Because we all know, we're not idiots, we know that there isn't forever, right? Some things will come to an end, and so everyone ends up sacrificing. Anyways, I need to wrap things up. Wish me well. Like I said, there's worse things in the world with me and my virus making me feel miserable and questioning my ability to run on the next event. But, folks like Lonnie and his mom, they're going through a hell of a lot worse. So, stepping back, I'm like, I shouldn't complain. I should just carry on. So I carry on, I will. I need to make some phone calls, set some appointments, and do some stuff. Hopefully on the next episode, things will be better on my end, and I'll give some updates on some other things, and this and that and the other thing. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening and hearing what I had to say on this third episode of 2019 for Ruel's Running Podcast. Hope everything else is going well on your end, and that you are not dealing with all of the challenges that I talked about, that you crush it, you kill it, and you win because you deserve it. Awesome. So with that, eat something delicious, hug your friends, hug your family, and go run something. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Ruel's Running Podcast with Ruel. If you like what you just heard, share it with your friends and your enemies. Also, be sure to check out the site over at ruelsrunning.com. This has been another Coffee with Heavy Cream production. Join us next time for another silly show of Ruel's Running Podcast.